Anyone on the right side of the aisle knows that their views are typically viewed as counterculture for the mainstream media. And we've seen that attitude extend itself to big tech. And now we've seen big tech continue to curtail your ability to speak freely about topics that need to be discussed. And today, Trey and I are going to give you our thoughts on YouTube's latest decision to further strip people from their ability to truly broadcast themselves. Welcome to the Wright Brothers. YouTube used to be a place where anyone could truly broadcast themselves and be their best selves. But as we saw with YouTube's latest declaration, they are no longer allowing individuals to question certain events, and we know exactly why. Now, here at the Wright Brothers, you know that for several years now, we have championed the ability to think critically and speak freely. And now that we see YouTube essentially preemptively silencing individuals who may choose to call this election into question, we have to ask ourselves, what is the path moving forward for a conservative voice on this platform and many other social media platforms who continue to employ many of the same tactics? So as many of you know, after the safe harbor deadline, December 8th actually, YouTube made an announcement saying that any individuals who questioned the election were going to be susceptible to having their videos removed from the YouTube's platform because of violating community guidelines or what have you. And we really have to ask ourselves, what precedent does that set for the future of individuals who simply choose to speak their mind in whatever way, shape, or form they may choose? So for more on that, I'm going to turn the floor over to my brother.
Yes, thank you, Damani. And really, this comes down to a problem that I like to remind people is truly bipartisan. We're speaking on it in light of the 2020 election. But what really is concerning is the fact that that pendulum can swing back the other way at any time. And that's something that we always have to be cognizant about when we're discussing the decisions of this nature. And we saw extensive unrest on the left side of the aisle with the results of the 2016 election. And we saw questioning of the results of that election from countless sources, countless venues, whether they were vetted or verified or unvetted. And whether we agreed with that or not on the right side of the aisle, the bottom line is those people have a voice too. And YouTube, to their credit, gave those people a place to voice those opinions and voice those concerns, gave those people a place to voice their theories. And you know what, whether you agree with that or not, that is fine. This is still America. This is still a place where if you have an opinion, you should be able to voice it without fear of being unnecessarily curtailed in that opinion. Now, I will say this: YouTube is a company that should be able to, and they should be able to run their company as they see fit, on their platform. But this gets a little bit into the publisher versus platform territory, and that's a battle that I think is going to be fought primarily over this next decade, because the way the market share falls, YouTube basically dominates the space. In social media, we know who the giants are. We know YouTube, we know Facebook, we know Twitter, we know Google, which of course owns YouTube. So basically, if you're not towing the line, they can aggressively silence any of their competitors. So my issue really comes down to, well, okay, if we know who the Leviathans are they going to be consistent? And if not, then someone has to speak up. And like I said, I had no problem with there being all these wild theories coming out regarding President Trump being, a Russian agent, or, being placed in power by the Kremlin. All this nonsense that we heard ultimately proved to be nonsense by the fruitless Mueller investigation, taxpayer-funded Mueller investigation, by the way. But YouTube gave a voice to those people who chose to push those opinions. Major networks, they put their content out there, and YouTube happily aired it, and that is fine. But the problem is if the chickens come home to roost on the other side of the aisle, then you're not even allowed to question within just a mere month of a very contentious, highly contentious election. The exact same shoe when the shoe is on the other foot, that you're not allowed to question the results. Anyone who has a modicum of objectivity should have a problem with that. And again, this is not, anyone can look at this on surface level and just see, oh, this is conservative sour grapes. And to me, that's just a lazy way of looking at it. I would think and I would hope that if the shoe were on the other foot and it was a large conservative platform silencing liberal voices, I would hope that all of us liberty-loving individuals would be just as up in arms about it. I know I would be. I think that's the true litmus test of all of us who truly value the First Amendment. But again, this is not really about the First Amendment. This is about consistency, because we are talking about a company that is going to be able to run things as they see fit. But we really do need to have that discussion of publisher versus platform. Damani, can you give us some tips and tricks for how to handle this brave new world that we seem to be coming into and seems to be growing more Orwellian by the day?
Yeah, absolutely. What I think is of paramount importance is to stay in the game, which is why here at the Wright Brothers, you will see us continue to create content on this platform. But there are some ways we can actually do that in a way to almost circumvent these new Orwellian rules that YouTube has enforced. The first of which some of you already saw, if many of you watched the video I released about 9 months ago with regard to Conservative Inc. There was an individual who I referenced there who actually has come under all sorts of scrutiny and has been roundly deplatformed from nearly every social media platform. And that individual is someone who I actually referred to by just using his initials. There are ways in which you can broach these sensitive topics in a way that's not going to get you outright deplatformed, but you have to get creative. Now, there are some individuals who may say, well, maybe you should just leave YouTube and go somewhere else. Sometimes the best tack to take is to stay in the fight, but to always be innovating and moving forward. So for those individuals who no longer will use YouTube, and there are many of them I know, even some of our subscribers even, what I want to also encourage you with is the fact that we will be branching out, innovating as well. We are working through plans to actually start up our channel on Rumble as well as any other outlet in which we can air our thoughts on the topics of the day. Because what's most important to do is not put all of your eggs in one basket. To not say, I'm only going to work on YouTube, because in essence, when you do that, you allow these big tech entities to have the final say on when you will be deplatformed and ultimately silenced. The more platforms on which you are, the harder that task becomes for those individuals who would hope to stifle free speech. So you will still see us here on YouTube, and you will see us on other platforms as well, platforms that do still champion free speech, because it's important that we stay in the game and continue taking the fight right to the enemy, no matter what the cost and no matter where it takes us. So we want to know, what are your thoughts on YouTube's new guidelines as it relates to this election, as it relates to the future? We want to hear from you. We love engaging with our base. We appreciate those of you who do support us and who have stuck by us on YouTube, and we will enjoy seeing you join us in this forum and many other forums for many months and years to come. We also want to say thank you to those of you who've taken it upon yourself to support us financially through Patreon. We could not do what we do without you, and we are working tirelessly to continue to elevate the status and the quality of the product that we bring to you. But let us know what your thoughts are, and the last thing we'll ask you to do is to like this video, help us fight back against this social media censorship. It takes all of us together. Subscribe if you haven't already, and share this with a friend both here on YouTube and on any other platform. Identity politics is dead. That's an aspirational statement that we always have and always will believe in, and it takes all of us to make that become a reality. So we want to thank you guys for taking this time, and we will catch you in the next one.
The first revolution is when you change your mind about how you look at things and see that there might be another way to look at it that you have not been shown. The revolution will not be televised, and be no rerun, brothers and sisters. The revolution will be live.